Welcome to Real Talk tonight. How are y'all? Okay. Oh, you know what? It's not gonna do it until 10
Oh, okay.
because
You set a
because I
timer.
said I put so
It won't start yet.
it ain't gonna let me start
Oh,
until.
there you go. Boom.
Oh, just kidding.
It worked.
Just kidding. Well, I put a timer. It's good. I'm glad I know now that it told y'all that it would start at 10. Like if y'all were waiting on me,
But as soon as you went live,
it
it sent me
updated.
it sent me a notification. So even if it's
Okay,
on the timer, it still sent it.
which means that the best way to catch these Real Talk Lives is to be subscribed with your post notifications on, like my husband is. Because
Yeah.
if not, then I might be late and y'all think I'm not coming, and I am. I just didn't get to make it yet. So tonight we're going to be talking around the topic of self love for men and relationships. And basically just talking about how in the black community especially doesn't seem like black men are taught to love themselves the same way that black women are taught to love themselves. And not necessarily just only black men, but because we are African American, we can speak from our experiences
Right.
of what we know about for ourselves and what we've known for other people around us. And yeah, I guess I will let Des lead on this conversation.
I mean, what you were saying was right. Um, for men in general, but black guys, you are.
Hi, Chris.
Hey, Chris. In a way, you are. You're taught certain things that means, hey, you can go ahead and, as some would say, you sow your oats, or you go out and try to have, you go out and you're with as many women as possible. But we see a lot from a young age that you teach girls differently. Protect your body. Don't let anybody touch you in certain places. Your body's special. And you don't always tell your boys that. Like your boys are, oh, we'll go get dirty, and when I feel like he's mature enough to talk about it, we'll talk about it. And sometimes by that point, it's too late. Um, for some people for some kids, especially guys, they're if you don't teach them early, they tend to learn themselves, and they have the ability to learn bad habits. Um, Prime example is the way you treat puberty with girls is by truly teaching them to not to just explore their bodies, but you really do teach it in health. As they start to have their menstrual cycles, you start to teach them about things. You start to evaluate things in some ways. Women, especially a woman who's comfortable in her own body, she'll sit down and explain stuff to a girl that sometimes
How do you know that?
because I've sat through health classes and I have a lot of female friends who, when they're sitting down and talking to younger girls, I normally just sit there and listen because I'm like, okay, well, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I might have a daughter one day. I need to know some of this
Oh.
stuff. So,
It's just interesting that you say that because when I was in school, I don't remember being taught that at school.
I,
And I remember knowing what a period was because my girl cousins would all had theirs before
mm,
I did. And my mom never really sat down with me and had a talk. And I
see, yeah,
remember there was
no,
this cartoon, Sabrina the Teenage
teenage
Witch,
witch,
and
yeah,
she had her period and she was bleeding.
but
And I asked my mom, Mom, is this something real that happens? And my mom was like, Yeah, girl. And I started crying because I was scared. And I think I was like 10. And
yeah,
she wouldn't, I got my cycle for the first time at 13. And she didn't tell me anything. And then when my cycle started at school, like, I
they
remember coming
sending you
home from
home, yeah,
school and telling my dad, um, and I think my mom went to go get me some stuff for it. But it's interesting that you say that you learned that in health class because I really don't remember
Well,
learning that in my health
I've,
class. We
I've,
talked about sex, but we didn't talk about periods
I've,
in like seventh grade
yeah, like
and
I
in ninth
remember,
grade too.
yeah, definitely once we got to ninth grade, that was when folks started being honest because for some reason in high school you don't just take health with people in your on your grade level. You take it with people who may not have taken health class yet. So now what happens is you might be a freshman but be in there with a senior and they're wanting to go into like explanation of stuff. So it was different for me. I got to learn that stuff. But you don't really get to see guys you don't really hear, especially not through health class, them
Mm-mm.
explain stuff for guys like they don't explain your first erection. They don't explain like they'll tell you, oh well, this is what a wet dream is, but like people laugh at it because they think it's funny. But most people
Oh.
don't tell you like that. That's a normal thing. It'll happen sometimes for guys. So I feel like sometimes you don't you don't really, especially as a guy, you don't walk into those things. And I feel like, especially for communities where people feel like if I teach you about your body in a sexual manner, it is. Um,
Oh my gosh, yes, we could totally touch on that. Sunshine Van Black says,
yeah, I'm reading it,
"Oh, you
and
can
it's
see
a
it. Oh
yeah.
yeah,
Um, I feel like that's something that they don't speak talk about like touch with
I feel like consent conversations happen at home, but a lot of times they happen with women and not with men. They
exactly
happen like with little girls.
and
And
not with
I even
little
remember my
boys.
mom and my dad telling me, like, if somebody touches you, let me know. Let someone know, you know. I don't have any brothers, so I can't speak to like what my parents would have done with boys, but I don't remember. I remember the conversation for boys going like this. If a girl tells you no, that means
Right.
no.
You
You make
never
sure that you don't make
touch
if she
her,
says
make her
no,
feel
then you leave
uncomfortable.
her alone.
You
That's the conversation. It's not like if somebody touches you
or no,
or if
it might
somebody
be if
does
somebody
something to
touches you, but
you.
it's if another guy touches you. You never really hear parents go in depth about, well, if an older girl touches you, you have to come home and tell somebody. A lot of times for guys, it's like, oh, you sleeping with an older chick? Yeah, and it's like, no, no, not at all. That's not okay. It's not okay at all because you don't even know what you're doing. And some of the times, the person, depending on who you messing with, they don't know what they doing either. So it's the blind leading the blind. And truth be told, it can be very traumatizing.
Men will think that not giving consent is just saying no when it's multiple things. It could be disconnect, lack of eye contact, crying, being drunk, closing their eyes, covering themselves, and more.
I believe that is
Oh,
true.
so
It
I get what you
is.
mean.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It's
Because
that's
like
definitely
sometimes you already said no, but maybe you feel scared or you're trying to move them off me. Like I won't say I was like raped, but I told this story on my channel about where I was kind of pressured into having sex with a guy and I really didn't want to do it. And he was disregarding my body language and the fact that I said no. And I just felt like I won't say I felt scared, but I just felt like I went along with it because I was already there, but I was completely shutting down. So I do agree about that. But it's also in what you
it's
say too. Like if you're saying no, I don't want to, but then they keep on like undressing you or touching you or just doing things to kind of lead into that nature of sex, you know, consent is really important. I feel like if you have the consent from a person, the sex is going to be more enjoyable anyway. But you have some people that do not give a damn. So it's like, even if you're not necessarily enjoying it, they're still going to do what they want to do because they're only concerned about themselves. And unfortunately, that's like, it's unfortunate for that person because they are preying on people, but it's also unfortunate for the recipient or the victim in that situation, because it may affect the way that they view sex. It may affect the way they view men going forward. It might affect the way they view relationships, intimacy,
Yeah,
and that sort of thing. And the same thing can happen with men too.
it
Like,
happens a lot more than people think. And the thing is, with guys, women have laws that back them for things like that. Like you have domestic violence, you have rape, you have different things like that that were really created to assist women, but those things don't help guys in the same way. If you look at it, a guy can be raped, but 9 times out of 10, nobody's gonna say, "Oh yeah, well, I mean, if she was touching his body and he went for it and his penis got hard, then that means he wanted it." No, it don't. That's not what that means at all. I could sit up here and rub a clitoris all day and the pussy get wet. Don't mean you want it.
that's
Sorry.
language.
You're it doesn't mean that right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it was I mean God is that's one of them things that just because you touch somebody and their body reacts to it, it doesn't mean that they want it.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when you talk about sexual
It's
touch,
real, y'all. I just don't want my video to be not monetized. So yeah, we gonna talk about the
it's
real, but I
it's
watch my language now more too because they be tripping on here with the Google
um
AdSense.
it's
But
it's it's one of those things to where guys don't have the luxury of saying that you know what I was raped. No guy can do that. Why? You can't run a rape test on a guy. How do you run it? There's not a rape kit set up for a dude at all, unless he's
the other
anal.
type of rape, I know
And
that's what I
yeah,
figured.
but if he
If
if
he's molested by a girl,
it's
there's
no
no way to
way for
tear.
you to tell. None at all. It's no way that the government or the hospitals, I've never heard of anybody saying that it was set up like that. And the thing is, if you go to, again, you go to the public, oh, well, dude, you should have liked that. You should have liked the girl being in control of you. You should have liked all this. No. How many times do we see that with teenage boys? And the first problem we have is, as guys, they go in and, yeah, yeah. It's like, did y'all talk to the man and see if he has a clear understanding of how sex works now?
Yeah, because I'm not gonna lie, I noticed that a lot of guys lost their virginities at younger ages. Like,
To
I
older
I feel
women.
like younger guys lose their virginities, or not younger guys, but guys in general that I knew growing up lost their virginities ages 11 to like 14, and then the women lost theirs a little bit later, like 16 to 19, 15 to 19. And it was because like women, I felt like women were like pressured to keep their virginities
Right.
and don't have sex before you get married, don't have sex with the wrong person. Whereas guys, it's like you're a man once you have sex. You need to go have sex now. You need to have sex with as many girls as you can because it shows you that you're the man or whatever. And then what happens is because you have your young man hit puberty, he's feeling like, oh, I gotta prove myself as a man, and then they may have sex with just anybody, so
And
or some older horny girl,
that's normally what happens. You end up
not
just
necessarily a predator, but like
no.
just let's
Well,
just say
no.
the
Technically, she would be considered a predator because if it was a
but
guy, you would
I'm just
consider it the
I just
same.
mean like if it could be like a 2 year age difference, like you have a 13-year-old guy and a 15-year-old girl or something like that.
Yeah, but
That's
I mean,
technically they're underage, and that's not a predator. It's when you're
yeah, but no, because as a guy, if you're a 15-year-old sleeping with a 13-year-old, you're considered a predator.
how.
Because you're older, they consider you to, and that's what I'm saying. Guys are not judged on they're not judged on the same basis. Um, you're judged on
Yep,
you're older.
absolutely. She said females are also given more precaution
Yeah, I read
conversations.
it. I believe that. I believe it.
Oh,
It's
what's up, Jamar?
hey Jamar.
Hey.
I believe it. I believe that to be true, and I believe it to be completely factual. And I feel like because of that, and because of the way that girls' bodies are so much more valued. I feel like it's more of an issue, and the thing that I would like to see happen with more guys is that at least if you're gonna tell them to go out and have sex, tell them what the other than just STDs and having kids, tell them what the other um, outcomes may be.
And
And like
another thing is enlighten them without bashing them with religion. Because I
exactly,
was going to say that sometimes you do have that talk with your kids.
and
And
the first thing you tell them is they're going to
the
hell.
first thing you tell them is that you're going to hell,
How
or
unholy
you
it
say how
is,
unholy it is, how you're not living
the
how
right
God
way.
wants you to, and you put that pressure on those young children, men and
Well, but you
female,
push them
and,
so
and
much
you
for
that
them
they
to
want to
be.
do the opposite of what you're telling them, because you're telling them what they can't do and you're giving them all these rules and you don't want them to do it. And so it's like anything else. If you tell them you don't want them listening to vulgar music,
They
they're going to
gonna
listen
do
to it
it.
when they're not around you. Or you tell them you don't want them to listen to or what else? Say bad words or whatever. They're gonna
Yeah,
do the opposite when they're not around you. So it's kind of like out of a fear. Like I know for me, my mother passed away without me ever being able to talk to her about sex and the fact that I had sex. I think she knew, but we never had that openness in there which I could talk to her about it
we never had it
because
either.
I was being fast. Granted, my mother, my sister, when she was 15 years old, now she had me in her 30s when she was married to my father, but she had my sister at 15 years old, and she never had a conversation with me about sex, about any of it. And anytime like I wanted to date or do anything like that, I was being fast. And I didn't get to have those conversations. So what happens is if your parents are Christian and they don't want you to talk about sex, they don't want to talk about the taboo things with you, you end up finding out from older friends, older relatives, people that are close to your age that don't know any better themselves. And so I really encourage parents to have these conversations, these uncomfortable conversations with their kids. Because although your kids may not listen to you 100%, at least they will not go into the world blind. Because
Yeah.
everybody doesn't listen to their parents. I know I didn't with some of the stuff that I was told not to do. But at least if your parents had to talk with you before you started having sex, you can have a little bit of insight on it.
Yeah, and I also feel like,
Exactly. If you don't learn it from your parents, you're gonna learn it from somewhere else. And
well,
like I was just saying, you end up learning it from people that are probably like your peers. You young, don't really know much themselves. Y'all all experimenting basically, and you're not learning from someone who has had that life experience.
well, not even that, but I think it has to go back to more of a transparent conversation. I feel like, especially with some black parents, they don't have these transparent conversations. They're not telling you, oh, yo, I waited until marriage. Like, no, you didn't. I mean, your baby pictures. I mean, your wedding pictures. You didn't wait. So let's start being more honest. And my parents definitely had me after they got married. That was like 5 years later,
But
6
I
years
get what
later.
you mean.
But
Like
yeah,
my mom had my sister in her teens, but then she restored her life and she followed a different path or whatever, and she got married and she had me and my other sister that passed away. But that wasn't always her life. She didn't always walk that walk, and it was interesting to learn from her relatives, my dad, and just others the way she was versus who I knew her as my mother. Because obviously, as a mother, as a father, you might change, you might groom yourself differently because you have this idea that you want to be a model, a role model for your kids.
but
But I still think it's so
being a
important to share those experiences with your kids
well, the way that a
too.
role model is defined in our society is so jacked up because we put role models on pedestals. If you want to be a role model, be completely honest. Be completely honest as a role model. I remember when I was in college, I used to give tours of college to kids who were in, whether they came from middle school or high school or parents, I would give them tours, but I would be very honest from the beginning. Look, I'm about to tell you what college really is, not what they show you on TV, not what your parents tell you college is. I'm telling you what college really is and what the experience is like. And I need your parents to understand that this is 9 times out of 10, this is probably going to happen. So let's not sit up here and fake what it is. This is what it is. When you go out on Friday and your parents are not here, and you can get hands on alcohol. You will. If you're attracted to somebody, it's your parents can't say, "Oh well, it's no boys allowed in my house." You're not living in their house anymore.
Right.
You're living out here on campus where
And you
we
have freedom, and it's like
and
your parents can raise you right, but
it's
at the
your
end of the day, it's
decision.
your decision on what you decide to do with
So
that said freedom.
like, and I feel like it's so many
Uh-oh.
parents who feel like if we don't educate them, they won't. I feel like it's just not a it's not a healthy practice, and I feel like especially for guys, if you don't tell them that they're valuable and that they matter too when it comes to sex, you're gonna keep running into the same issues. Like somebody told me, the easiest way to avoid teen pregnancy is to educate boys, not girls.
Yes. Oh my gosh, there's so many guys that don't know.
Well, you don't know because nobody tells them
But they
that
don't.
it's
But they don't. But
valuable.
they don't know how to avoid pregnancy because they
Well,
don't
no,
be
it's
having no
not even
conversation.
about avoiding. It's not just avoiding pregnancy. It's understanding. You don't tell boys that they can have trauma from having sex too early. It's kind of like the conversation we had Saturday when you go into sex, nobody knows. Certain girls require different things in order to be pleasured.
Okay.
So you can't normally when guys talk to guys about sex, they don't teach them that every girl is different. You're not
Oh.
teaching them that every girl is different. So one thing that may make
Well, they
one
don't. Well,
girl,
wait. They don't teach us that every boy is different either, though.
yeah, but the only reason I say it's different is because the way that the female body works versus the male outer anatomy is different.
Oh.
The idea of that if you touch a guy a certain way, he'll react.
Oh. And
But
women are
women are
different.
completely different, and
I
the
get what
thing
you
is, it
mean.
can be so damaging to your ego because that's what most boys get out of having sex. You end up having an ego and you feel great about yourself. It's damaging to your ego to go from well this worked on this girl to the next girl and being like, well what happened? The other girl loved it. They don't
Yeah.
they don't teach you that
And
it's
honestly,
completely different.
I feel like, well, I can't speak for everybody, but I feel like long term relationships allow you to learn what you like. Because if you're just sleeping with different people, and it's not regular, you're not gonna really have opportunity to know what you like anyway. I didn't start learning what I liked until my first long term relationship.
And you're right. A lot of folks are just doing it to do it, and they don't understand. And that's one thing that parents don't. They don't even talk
Yes,
about
that
that
energy
in.
is so
They don't
transferable.
even talk about that in religion. I feel like
I,
that's one
I
place
actually
where you
I
should
actually
talk about
have
it.
heard about that in religion.
I
They
well,
call it soul tie. You ain't never heard that before?
no.
I've heard it soul tie.
By the
They would
time I
always say like if you when you're intimate with someone, you have a soul tie with them. And that's why with women especially, and even maybe
no,
guys
a lot of times
too,
with guys too.
but when whoever that woman loses her virginity to the first time, it's hard for her to step away from that guy because of the tie. She like the what sex meant, and for her to give it to that person, she's attached to him. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
And
that happens with guys too. But the thing is that because you're so encouraged to next,
they
you
don't
don't
get to
even
linger on the first
yeah,
relationship.
yeah, unless you're really in a relationship and y'all are both going into it together for the first time, you don't really get to linger on that soul tie. It's up and
And
on
it
to the
just
next.
depends too, cause like if the guy didn't have that mentality going into it, his first time may have not been as special for him to
Or you
for you
well,
get what I'm
it's
saying?
not it can be the
Like it
part that
could
it's not special, but you also run into the issue of because you don't go in and know what you're doing, your body will have certain reactions and you think you're broken.
oh, I've heard a guy say this
Yeah,
before.
like well something's wrong with me and it's like no, it's not anything wrong with you. Your body's not used to it.
Mm.
So now you can walk out of it
I'm having a whole epiphany about another relationship right
it's
now.
yeah, like you come out of it thinking like what is going on? What's wrong with me? And then the people
Or
you
like
go
you get hard, but then when you're trying to actually
yeah
have the sex, you can't stay
yeah
hard or something because
yeah because
you've been
you
used to it because you've been by
exactly
yourself.
your
Yeah,
body's like
I get
your
it.
body's like
And
excuse
then you
me
start apologizing because you feel
and you feel
like you're doing something
yeah
wrong.
and the thing is because sometimes girls are not educated about it either. They think you're flat out broken. It's like, no, he's not broken, sweetie. He just because you deem him the one who's supposed to be the dominant one. you think he's broken.
That is so
Yeah,
true.
that's true too. Your body will definitely let you know when you don't have no business messing with nobody.
You can't get aroused like you
It's not
want
even
to.
that. It's
I
some.
feel like it is.
I feel like some of the times you'll be sleeping with somebody, and the whole thing is it's one of those things of it's not pleasurable. Like you don't feel like you're doing something wrong, but it's just not satisfying. And and
Yeah, like you don't
because
feel it on a spiritual level or
not even on a
something.
spiritual
Not.
level, like you feel physically, but your mind is like, it's just
Yeah,
not
no
working.
chemistry.
Yeah, it's
That's
like
exactly what it
it's just not
is.
working for me. But because your body reacts, it's like, oh yeah, I did great, and it's like, no, you didn't. And the thing is, most people don't tell girls until like you get experience that girls suck too. Like most of the
I've
time.
heard it before. I heard the women suck by being lazy. That's what I
Well, see,
hear.
but that's the thing. It can't just be because you're lazy. Like it's
Oh,
certain.
and like what, fellatio?
It's the things of it's. I guess it's because most people think that guys are supposed to be the ones who teach, and a lot of women feel like, well, if I have to teach you, I don't want nothing to do with you. Because I've heard a lot of
I've
women
heard
say
that
that
before.
that oh
I don't
well,
agree with that though,
I don't
because
agree with it either because it
every
sucks.
relationship is different. So it's like, I don't know. How would you have felt as a virgin when you didn't know how to ride yet? You didn't know how to,
You didn't know how to
arch your
do any.
back right or do
You didn't know how
anything.
to do
If the
anything
people
but
that you
lay
were
there.
exactly the people you were dealing with, like, were just like,
Well,
oh, you suck. Like, it's your first time. You're not gonna know. You really ain't gonna know what you're doing until
and because
some
people
times come.
and because guys cannot be comfortable saying it's their first time, it really lends them into trying to be something that they're not.
Yes, and you can learn exactly. Hold on just a second. I'm
Yeah,
listening
but
to
I
her.
mean, it's certain areas where
How do I love what she said? I agree with her.
you can't kind of
It only lets me do mean things like put you in timeout.
yeah,
Well,
it's
I'm gonna just post me a heart because I agree with Sunshine.
but it's the same thing with that. But in even if we move into the other direction of like guys' mental health, is it's crazy because guys are expected to be mentally tough from being little kids, and it's really not fair, and it's damaging in the same way. Like a lot of people will see a little boy fall down, but once he gets
I let
past
my
age
baby
like
cry.
2 or 3, folk, yeah, we do, but a
I
lot of
let my
folks
baby
don't.
cry. I just don't let him try to play me when he don't get his way and he start
Yeah,
crying. I don't play that.
that's different,
Homie, don't play that.
but
But
I've
if you
seen
fall and you got hurt, I'm gonna come. I'm
exactly.
going to comfort
Well,
you. I don't
no,
care about if you're a little boy or
well,
not.
no, but it's not even just when he falls. It's that if somebody hurts his feelings, you tell him man up. If he's facing and he's fearful, people tell him man up. You're a little boy. You're supposed to be acting like a man. And what happens, especially in the black community, is if there's no men in the household, you feel like, well, what should I do that a man would do? And it's like, no, 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 no. You're confusing him now. At one point, you want to be the nurturer and you want to be caring, and then in the drop of a dime, when he expects you to be nurturing and caring, you're telling him shut up, you're telling him man up, you're telling him get up and dust yourself off, and you're not allowing him to be human. Not even just a little boy, he can't be human. Human beings cry.
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing wrong with him crying. If he loses something, what?
Hmm? Sorry.
I have to look at that in a second because I get those all the time, but I don't know if it's true or not. But you don't people don't let guys be human, and even in relationships, you don't let them be human. Like a lot of the times, guys don't get to learn relationships. You
We
ain't,
just expect you to be perfect.
no, you don't expect them to be perfect, but if he's dating a girl and he doesn't understand something, it's not like you expect him to be able to sit down and talk to the girl. Kind of like what we were talking about the other day.
Why he can't talk to me?
It's not that he can't, it's he's approached. It's like if he sits down and says, yo, it makes me uncomfortable when you do. But and she goes, well, when I was dating this guy, he did. You're not meeting him there as a person. You're comparing him to everybody else.
I don't agree.
The reason I do is because you're taught to
You mean you can't say that you don't like something?
Well, no. What I'm saying is they expect you're. A lot of times, guys do not get to express their feelings in relationships because it's deemed as
Um.
weak. It's not deemed as masculine. It's deemed as somebody who can't lead. They guys don't get to express themselves the same without being hyper masculine.
Oh.
Because that's something that's very now it's very much so if a guy does something that is not like they find a way to call it hyper masculine.
What's
They
hyper masculine mean?
basically they're saying he's being too macho in what he's doing, but if he's not hyper masculine then he's too feminine.
Oh, so it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Right.
You don't
If you
really
find
get to
a
be
if a
either
guy
one, and
is
it's a
some
problem
if
either
a guy
way.
is too emotional and he cries and stuff a lot, people, oh, he must be gay. And it's like, no, he's not. But if he's raised around people who allow him to be himself and then he comes into you, it's very different. And it can really be damaging.
Yep, I agree, Sunshine. Exactly. They
Yeah,
expect you to know what you're doing. If you don't, they just take her to the curb and go to the next conversation about the problem.
exactly. And the
And then
thing
the gender roles are toxic, especially when homes without a man's presence, harsh conditions to put are put on our little boys in fear of them being feminine.
well, it's not even put on little boys, it's put on men too.
Well, no, for raising
Oh
kids,
yeah,
she's talking about
for
raising
raising kids,
kids.
yeah, it's definitely it's terrible because you're basically teaching him here's the box of what it is to be a man, fit into it, and if you don't fit into it, we gonna put you in a different box and call you something else,
Yeah.
and it can create a lot of issues with self love and feeling like you can be an individual and feeling like you can express yourself. It's a lot of things that go into it. Like I'm sure when most people looked at Prince, a lot of people created an automatic perception of what his sexuality might be.
Yeah, but women and men love Prince.
Yeah, but we didn't know women and men loved Prince until you got around other women and men. Like, yeah, you loved his music, but nobody told you like, oh, well, Prince. Yeah, Prince does all this stuff, but Prince likes women.
No, I'm talking about like not his music. Women and men love Prince. That's
Yeah,
what I'm saying.
I
They were
know,
attracted to
but what
him.
I'm saying, as a little boy, especially as a little black boy, 9 times out of 10, people did not sit you down and tell you, "Oh, well, yeah, by the way, Prince is." Like
Mm.
nobody sat down. Same thing with Michael Jackson. Nobody sat down and told you,
my mind,
"Oh, well,
my mind went to Michael Jackson
yeah."
too.
Nobody tells you, "Oh, well, Michael Jackson was." Everybody, especially once he caught them cases that were proved that he didn't do anything, it automatically went to crack jokes on Michael Jackson, analyze the way he dressed, analyze the way he does this,
The thing
without
with Michael
truly
Jackson though is that
analyzing.
he bleached his skin too, and
Well,
he looked like he had his hair the way he had it out. Made him look like he was just going through something.
he
I feel like
was.
that's why he was the butt of the joke, not necessarily just
What?
because the accusations about
But
the molestation of those children.
with him being a black guy, did we ever stop to analyze that he really might be going through something?
Mm-mm.
We never did. We was just saying, oh man, Michael, something wrong with Michael. Michael ain't right in the head. Move on. But we gonna buy his music. Folks want to dress like him on Halloween. You want your kids to sing and dance like him, but you don't want your kids to fully understand him. And if he's one of the main black faces on TV, oh yeah, I've done that too at funerals. I'm not somebody who cries at funerals. Even when my granddad died, I cried for about. When my
Aww.
granddad died, I cried for about an hour and a half, and then for the next 3 weeks, I was just like, kind of, I was
Yeah.
here, but like I was here, but I wasn't here, because I hadn't really dealt with it.
That's so sad to have to mask the way you really feel because you're trying to be strong and be a man or whatever. I'm trying to think like father figures in my life, exes and things like that. I've not seen my father cry a lot, but I
I'm
have seen him cry. In anger and in sadness too. But he tried to not cry in front of us because it would make us worry.
right,
And at the same time, I honestly don't remember seeing my mom cry much either. Not at least not with me in front of her. But that might be like a mother father type thing. Um, I had the ex that I had a long term relationship with. I saw him cry a couple times, but it was the same thing. Like he wouldn't really want me to see it. He would try to like wipe it real quick, or wouldn't want me to console him in that because he felt like it was being weak.
Nah,
And my husband is not like that.
I'm
If my
different.
husband will cry, he will, and I'm not trying to just put him out there, but he don't care.
I
But
don't.
like he just like if he will cry if he feels like he needs to cry. He's not afraid to be emotional. So,
And if I'm,
and I actually like that a lot because
yeah,
I feel like we can both be vulnerable together, and it's not
right.
like you're pretending to be strong if you don't feel strong,
And
because that can make things worse.
well, yeah,
Honestly,
and well, you keep a
can't
lot of
always be
stuff.
strong.
You keep a lot of stuff bottled up, and I realize that a lot of times the stuff when it's bottled up, you don't
Hey, Frederick.
you don't get
Frederick.
to
I feel like I'm saying his name wrong. Hey.
control when that stuff comes out as much as we say we do. And
Oh,
I
see, that's a
never.
good point. That's a good way to think about it.
Well,
You
yeah,
feel
and
let down if you think they're perfect, and when you get older and they finally mess up because they're done trying to pretend for their child, you start to think differently of
well,
them.
when I started to understand that there men do cry was when my parents got divorced. My mom didn't cry not one tear.
Not in front of y'all, she didn't.
Yeah, not in front of us, but she had been telling me that they were gonna get divorced for like a month before they got divorced. But my dad in front of me and Jordan just sat there. I mean, my dad probably cried, especially when he like moved out and got his own apartment and did all that stuff. I think my dad cried for like months because it's not like he got to see me and my brother every day, and he didn't get to see us at school. And sometimes,
Okay, you just made me think about something. You remember when Tyrese was crying about
and
his
they clowned him,
yeah.
stupid, stupid, because that's his only daughter. And he wasn't just crying about that. It was because he got put on a wild amount of child support. Wild.
Mm.
And like I was telling you the other day, with child support does not include visitation all the time. So I want to say that might have been an issue too. So it became a big thing, and everybody was like, "Oh, Tyrese crying over this," and I'm like, "No, did y'all are y'all hearing what he said, or are y'all just laughing at him because y'all think it's funny, and the people around y'all don't do that?"
Yeah, they
But
were wrong for that,
and
Sunshine.
and then dudes are like you're not allowed to do that, and it's so crazy.
You've never
It's
cried for a woman. You never cried over a
I did.
woman, or you never cried for a woman. Have you ever? Okay, wait. Let me go back. Have you ever been in love before?
It's not have you been in love? Who taught you what love was?
No, like have you ever been in love though? Because
Oh,
if you
see,
he
yeah,
said no, hey
yeah, see,
Shantavia,
hey,
if you've never
Santavia,
been in love, you ain't got no
yeah,
reason to
you really
cry.
don't.
Because I'm gonna tell you right now, the guys that I dated that I didn't really get to that point with, I
You
didn't
don't
really
care.
shed
You
no
move
tears
on.
over it either because I didn't care.
But for the ones
But
you
for the
really
ones
do,
that I care deeply for,
the ones you make
yeah,
yourself vulnerable for, like really vulnerable, like all level of emotion type vulnerable, you're gonna
exactly.
even if you break up with them, you may cry. You may deal with it before you break up with them, or you may deal with it afterwards. But you definitely deal with it, and it's not an easy thing. And like a lot of folks, the unfortunate thing is folks are like, well, if you get with somebody else, you can move on. It's like, no,
Man,
no,
somebody
do
told me
not
that.
do that.
Somebody told me that too.
It's
They was
terrible.
like, you gotta, you if you want to get over, if you want to get over somebody, you gotta get under somebody else. And
Man,
I'm
I did that with
like,
one
that
chick.
doesn't. I feel like that doesn't work for me.
Well, it doesn't work for
I
me.
don't.
And
I mean,
what
we're
you,
so Desmond and I are married. If y'all didn't know, so we're married talking about this. But I just feel like that never worked for me because I always attach like emotions to my sexual experiences. So I couldn't just be
well,
messing with somebody
I
for no
feel
reason
like
just to prove a point.
if I get out of a relationship and I'm just really going into the next one, I'm not even separating the two people.
So you still think about the other person.
Yeah, because I haven't had time to really deep process and debunk everything that
So do
happened.
you think you're different than other guys, or you think everybody is like that?
I think a lot of people are like that, but because because you don't take the time to analyze it, you don't put two and two together.
Girl, Mary J. Blige will make your ass feel depressed.
Yeah,
I'm going
I don't
down.
even listen. I don't even listen to Mary J. Blige. I'm
Or
feeling
even
bad in a
listen to like
relationship.
"Be Without You" and
Yeah,
all them
Mary J. Blige
depressing
is shit. You be
songs.
sitting up here almost ready to blow. I don't. It's
Man,
certain R&B. I don't listen to Mary J. Blige, but I did listen after one breakup. I listened to like old school R&B like Teddy Pendergrass,
you
and
an
I
old soul.
well no see the song was Feel the Fire, and the message was if I give you everything I had. Basically, it was if I gave you everything I had nothing to feel bad about. I gave you everything I had. I gave you my heart. I gave you my love. I gave you my brain. If we didn't work after that, then I don't have anything to feel bad about because we just did not work.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. Like most of my breakups, I felt like I was done wrong for majority of them. So it still hurt because I gave myself. Um, uh, Frederick says he feels you.
Yeah.
Uh, I, but yeah, Sunshine. Like I felt like it hurt because my time was wasted. It helped. It hurt
But it
because I saw signs all along, but I loved the person and tried to give them the benefit of the doubt. So that's the hurt behind it. But I don't know. I guess I can't speak from a relationship that I screwed up and
well
felt like I lost somebody.
I feel like even like in I've had a relationship that was long term in that I felt like even if the way it ended wasn't my fault, stuff along the way is where ways where it might have created tension and disconnect. But I also took the time to analyze that on both ends we were there, and
Hi there. Thank you for joining me.
I feel like because most people are so ready to move past a relationship, you don't really sit down and talk with the person on a level of just complete honesty without feeling like you're gonna get back together with them. You don't really move forward. Like that's one thing I can say with my last ex. I'm glad we had that conversation. We got clarity on what happened. And sometimes you really do need that clarity and honesty, and that's not gonna come immediately.
No, it's
It's
not.
gonna take some time. It might take a couple of months. It might take a couple of years.
Yep,
But at times you really do need that clarity because not only is it for you to feel better, but it's teaching you about you for the next person.
that's true.
And if you learn about you for the next person, you may not get it immediately, but maybe going forward, you're not gonna do so many of the same things if you're truly trying to hold on to that person and you genuinely care about them.
Yeah,
But because we go, oh well, you know what? Me and that person ain't together no more. Everything that we did never happened. Like, no, you cannot live like that. I mean, you can choose to if you want to, but I feel like you need them conversations, and you need to be able to acknowledge that even if you don't like the way it ended, that person did make you happy at some point.
yeah.
Because now that's something you're able to teach somebody else
That's true to an extent.
to an
But
extent.
I
To
think
an extent.
sometimes, but I do want to say this. Like, if you're in a really toxic situation, sometimes you don't have to worry about that closure
Well, yeah,
because
if it's toxic,
closure
yes.
and you being at peace, it depends. Now you
Well,
can't
no,
have both
that's what
sometimes.
it's an exception.
But
It's an
if you
exception.
had a healthy breakup, which I don't know what
Even if
how
you didn't have a healthy breakup,
I or you just broke up
yeah,
because like y'all just
it just
well
needed to
y'all
happen.
grew apart.
Yeah, it needed to happen.
Then the closure can help you for the next thing, maybe.
But it
But peace,
requires
honey, peace
peace
is priceless.
is yeah.
The startup CEO lifestyle TV is saying. I really, really think that like
Peace is
your
definitely
peace is
priceless.
priceless. So it's like I saw like a meme on Facebook. Somebody was saying basically like I don't care about explaining my side of the story anymore. I'm just gonna let people believe what they want to believe. Something along those lines. For me, it has to be like that too with some of those things that you walk
Some
away
situations,
from
yeah.
because you're so concerned with trying to make sure that you don't look bad to other people that knew that ex or whatever. And it's
Well,
like you gotta do what's right for
I'm
you
not. See,
and your
I guess
peace.
I'm different. I'm not worried about looking bad. I just need you to understand where I'm coming from, Because a
But
lot
that's
of
the thing. I don't like, but
well,
I get what you're saying. You want to feel understood, but it's like when you get to a point where you don't want to be with that person anymore, whether
no,
they
not with.
understand or not.
It's not with. No, I'm not trying to explain it to that person. I need some of the other people around me who think they understand what was going on. I need you to sit down and listen to me because a lot of times the way a relationship ends depends on how people choose to respect you.
Exactly.
And I don't need you to feel like you can disrespect me because the relationship ended badly or because you talk to this person more than you talk to me. Let's sit down and even if you don't agree with me, I'll give you the benefit of me explaining to you at least once. Once I've explained to you that one time, I don't feel the need to explain myself no more. I'm not trying to be the good guy in it. Because at the end of the day, the relationship is over. You're going to paint me out to be the bad guy anyway. But at least if you respect me enough, sit down and hear what I'm saying. If you ain't willing to sit down and hear what I'm saying, then we really don't have nothing to talk about no way. And I feel like that's where people, you make friends in relationships and then you became cool with somebody, but because they're attached to a relationship you had, y'all fall off, but you didn't do nothing to that person. Like that means we're not even two adults. like
No, it just means that sometimes here's another meme right here. Sometimes, you gotta cut them losses, you gotta cut that baggage, you know what I'm saying? If
but
you try to move on from a situation, sometimes you're guilty by association. So it's like,
see, but
for
well,
me, like
people are different. People
I'm
are different. I'll
personally,
say
if
that.
it's one band, one sound. If I block one of y'all, I'm blocking all of y'all that are associated because unfortunately, a lot of times people don't know how to be mutual friend. And what I mean is you are closing the chapter of that relationship. You have mutual friends that y'all became mutual friend because of this said relationship. Now, what happened is when you're talking to that mutual friend, somehow your ex is coming up. And
Yeah.
then when that friend is talking to your ex, you're coming up. So you're learning what's going on in your ex's life and vice versa because of that mutual friend. So sometimes if y'all weren't already mutual friends before the relationship, I say cut that loss and stop talking to the
Well,
people associated as well because I feel like it prevents or it keeps you involved with your ex relationship in my opinion
okay.
because I have a friend that does
I'm
this.
I'm I'm different. I'll explain what she's done, but I'm different. You
Do
don't feel
you
like it's
feel
better to
it?
be genuine friends? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. How you gonna
Absolutely.
be if
You
we
gotta
ain't?
be
How we gonna
friends.
be girlfriend and boyfriend if we really just girl and boy?
Like you have to be friends.
we ain't
You have to
establishing
be you
nothing.
have to be friends because there's gonna be times where y'all can't do the courting stuff. There's gonna be times where y'all can't be intimate with each other. And if y'all don't have a friendship underneath all that, y'all are gonna be miserable as hell
I think
because y'all
it's
don't have nothing, no foundation at all,
yeah.
and that's not your friend.
I think it's a level of respect. I feel like it's
Absolutely,
a level of
absolutely.
respect that's supposed to come with friendship. And if you have a genuine level of respect in your friendship, you should have a genuine level of respect in your relationship. And I feel like, but if you rush it too quickly, you don't have a genuine friendship. You have a genuine lust. And because you've fallen in lust with somebody,
Exactly.
you think that, oh, well, because this part of the relationship is good, we can work out in every other way.
Yep.
No, you don't know that person. You sitting up here and folks keep wondering about, well, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite song? Like, no, fool, what you done went through in your life? What's
You
some
need to
real
you need to
stuff?
know the real stuff. And you
Right.
also like I really feel like a good test of a friendship is seeing somebody go through something real.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like, I'm not trying to wish death on nobody family
No,
member,
but
but
you
seeing something real like death, grief, depression, loss of
struggle.
income,
If
struggle,
you see somebody,
it shows you that person's character. Versus if y'all just going on trips and having fun and being
it's
intimate,
always
y'all
easy
ain't
to
y'all
have
gonna be
fun.
you
Yeah.
gonna be best of friends like this when
Until
y'all can
some,
spend money and have fun. But
until
when
some,
things start to go,
right. It's
downhill is when you can really, really see, is this person compatible with me?
let's
Does this
let
person have my back when I need them? And vice versa.
let's let both of y'all have $1 and y'all both trying to eat and y'all
Are y'all
like,
gonna put y'all
are
dollars
y'all gonna right?
together
Or
or
y'all
is
gonna
that
say,
just my
or you
dollars?
gonna be like, nah, that's my dollar. Drop me off at McDonald's and give me 7 pennies so I can get me a cheeseburger. Like, no, we could go to
Absolutely.
Checkers and get a cheeseburger, scrape up 2 quarters and get a cheeseburger and some fries and split it down the middle. And we can both eat. You know that,
Yeah.
right? Like that's the test of friendship. It's the test of friendship of, you know what? I ain't always got to come see you. Come see me. Oh, well, you ain't got it. Let's go eat at the cab. I'll pay for us to eat at the cab. Those are things you establish in your friendship.
Mm-hmm.
That if we genuine friends, it's about some stuff that ain't even on nothing else other than I just don't want to see my friend go through a hard time and I can help him sometimes.
Yep. We gonna cop us a $5 biggie bag. I know that's
Right.
right.
But it's just some different things where it's just like we got to create understandings, and sometimes I need to know about your, like, not personally, but like some stuff about your family, like where you come from.
And her Sunshine's comment about how she talked to her mother. That is, I mean, honestly, that is a good indication though. Like if you see people disrespect their family members sometimes, and you mean you can hear them out. Like why did you speak to her that way? Do y'all have some sort of thing that happened that that you want to share? They may or may not want to share that,
I
especially but it can show like if they treat their own blood that way, they
I
may eventually treat you that way.
I
I
feel
believe
like
that.
seeing it full in real time and not just in one situation, but over a lot of time explains better.
Oh,
I feel like
I'm
because
sorry, y'all.
although we don't sit
Damn.
up here and talk about it, if you got some disrespectful, smart mouth parents that love just chumping you off because they done had a bad day and that's the main thing they love to do. Sometimes if they don't respect you and they don't even really,
Yeah,
they don't
anger. A
they
lot
don't
of folks
really,
have bottled up
yeah,
anger that they don't handle it
folks don't
well.
treat you well. Some of the times your natural reaction after being a quiet kid for so long is to snap back.
Yeah,
And a lot of times it's not even out of disrespect for them as much as it is respect for self. Because parents love to say they can disrespect their kids, but you supposed to respect them.
yeah,
And a lot of times once kids start getting older and they start seeing that other adults truly respect them as people and you don't, that's a whole issue that got to be talked about. And you got to have a humble parent who can sit up here and admit that they were wrong in order for you to talk about that.
yeah. And you have to be able to acknowledge your shortcomings or
Yeah,
the things you need to improve. Some people do not have that sense of accountability. Um, and
yeah.
it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to critique self. It's hard to admit something is wrong with self. But yeah, I can understand that. Or just feeling like if you're around a person, they're not trying to do anything with their life and they're not trying to grow.
Well,
Um,
that's a different thing. You got to understand growth for different peoples comes at different periods. So I think when we talk about growth, we got to look at what kind of growth, and again, that comes with understanding people. You got to understand everybody who go to college ain't trying to graduate. You just trying to figure out what you're trying to do. So your growth is
it
gonna be in a different way.
is a privilege to be able to critique self. A lot of us are biased when it comes to ourselves.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
and I probably even me. I'm not even trying to say I'm not, but I'm like we are so quick to look and tell the next person everything they did wrong, but when it's time to look in the mirror, we can't admit our faults at times. So it's like a coming to Jesus moment that you have to have with self.
Yeah,
Maybe not with the person that's trying to critique you around, but just like those moments when you're by yourself and there's nobody around, it's late at night and you just have your thoughts.
yeah,
Is when you can really think about those things.
yeah, and you can't, just because you may not be the best at critiquing yourself now doesn't mean it's not gonna come later. That again becomes a part of growth.
Correct. There
If
is
as
no
long as
perfect person.
if you're trying to work on it, and maybe you're not gonna get it at 21 and 22. Maybe it's at 27, 28, and 29 that you really start to understand it because you got a couple of more things tied in.
Or 30,
Or
31,
31. It's some
34.
folks out here who in their 70s who can't still critique self.
Yeah, stuck in their ways.
And right, but we don't look at it as once you get past 50, folks give you the right to do whatever you want to. But I feel like for the people who cannot catch themselves, sometimes the
Mm-hmm.
worst thing you can do with some people who truly have an issue is to leave them by themselves. Because now what you're telling them is, oh well, if they're gonna leave me by myself and they're literally willing to just walk, then guess what? I'm gonna still keep not critiquing myself because every time I'm starting to learn a little bit, people want to dip off because I'm not learning at their pace. You can't leave everybody by the wayside just because they're not learning quick as you. Because I promise you, 9 times out of 10, there's a lesson you ain't learning that they've learned already and you don't know it yet. But because they value you as a friend, they're not gonna chump you off every time you do that, and they're not just gonna turn their back on you. That's again the definition of friendship. If you my friend, you my friend. If you wrong, you wrong. If you right, you right. But if I love you and you're not detrimental to my life, I got to hang with you. I got to stick next to you. Because the same things I'm trying to teach you, I'm sure in some way you're teaching me. But if I sit up here and I walk out on you, A, I'm not a good friend. B, I'm going to take that to every friend I got and think just because I'm doing better than them and I can critique myself this way that I'm not wrong in other ways. And I'm not giving myself a chance to learn either. So I feel like it's yeah, effort is important. That is one thing I can say. I appreciate effort. Like if you're making effort, that's great. You may not
Mm-hmm.
always hit it at that point, but at least if you're trying, at least if you say, "Hey, I know. Look, I'm not having the greatest day. I'm on edge." Or if you just come in and say, "Hey, I need a minute. I need a day. I understand we made plans, but just trust me. I'm not in the best spot." And some of the times as a friend, that's just reading your friends. If you know your friends are normally the ones who up and they talking and stuff, and then you walk in and it's dead silent, don't be the friend that come in there wanting to be loud and turn on music and tell them to turn up. Sit down and sit with your friend. You ain't gotta go in there and talk. Sit down and sit because some people love just being in the presence of other people. That's their way of feeling comforted. They don't have to talk because they don't feel comfortable. But to sit there and to be able to look at a friend and y'all can sit in a room and you know you're going through something and they can see that it's something wrong with you, but they're not just walking out because it's awkward. That's a level that helps them grow because now they're building something. They're building something that's going to help you.
Yeah,
Yeah, they do.
I agree with
I
you
agree with that. There it's certain levels of that.
for
It is.
sure.
It's definitely certain levels of people who self sabotage. Definitely is.
It's like, you gotta love them from a distance.
Yeah, 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 and I mean that's very true. That's very true.
That's what I meant. I'm not trying to say you had to grow at my pace, but what I'm trying to say is there does come a time where it's like, okay, now we not 19 no more. We almost 30. You still doing the same stuff you was doing at 19. It shouldn't take 20 years for you to catch up.
It's some
You're
folks who on a 30 year.
you are choosing this path for your life. It's not because you can't. It's because your choices.
It
Life
might
is
be.
all about choices. It's different.
It's true.
It's not like
It's
with
true.
college where I graduated in 4 years, you graduated in 5 years. The next person might graduate in 20. I mean, not 20. That's horrible. 8 years, or they stopped for a semester because they got pregnant, and then it took them a year and a half to come back. I'm not talking about something like that because that's not a race. College is not a race. I'm just talking about like you complain about where you are, but you're not taking actions to make it happen, or your priorities are not in place by choice. Like you are at every party every weekend, getting in free before 11, but you complain about where you live. You don't have a car. You don't have a ride.
Dang, you really shooting her like that?
I wasn't trying to shoot
I got an idea of
anybody.
where that was going,
Dang.
but
Why I gotta be shady? I'm giving an
I didn't say you were
example.
shady. Your
That's
example
the
led
way.
me to
That's where your
think.
face went. I wasn't
Because
trying to be shady.
your example led me to
Damn.
think about somebody.
You fired.
Okay.
This is now real talk with Yosha.
Okay, well let me get up.
Thank you.
Even with that,
Exactly. I was just trying to illustrate the point.
I get it. I get it, and I again I feel like it's some folks who identify with self love like that, and it's crazy. It's bad. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not saying it's good, but I'm saying certain people, like my mom used to tell me this when I was little.
Mm.
She used to tell me, so some of your friends, you see how their parents buy them Jordans, they ride around in Mercedes, and then the next week you see their Mercedes a different color. She said that
You have
mean,
friends like that?
yeah, she said that mean their parents might not own a car, but they lease a car. She says, but
Exactly.
I had to learn from my pastor.
That's all I was trying to say.
Yeah,
Priorities.
but I had to learn from my pastor because I used to think the same thing. He said, you got to understand self love is expressed in different ways. Some people who know that they can't handle money to take care of a house and a car, what about Jordans? They know how to take care of those. They know how to identify with those. People look up to them and they're grateful for them having those. So they identify with Jordans. They took their money and invested in something that makes them feel good and that people appreciate them for having. So yeah, I might not be able to make $600 a month to pay for my Mercedes, but I know I make enough for pay $133 a month to lease it. I know I can still make sure I take care of the oil changes so I don't get a extra charge on it. I know I can get the tires rotated, but I just can't afford to have a $600 Mercedes. But the way you treat me when I ride in a Mercedes versus the way you treat me when I ride in a Honda is two completely different things.
Not for Yosha Herd.
Not for Yosha, but a lot of people. It's an
You got a
example.
car, boo. Let's ride. I
It's
don't
an
care what kind of
example.
car it is.
But for people around who don't treat them the same in the way they identify with self love, me staying in this spot is for me is not a bad thing because the way people choose to love me in this spot is a lot better than when I try to make progress and people don't love me the same.
Yeah.
So I gotta identify with let me stay here and make this progress here, and at least I'm happy, they're happy, nobody's chumping my ass off. I'm still trying to grow little bit by little bit, but I might get knocked back down a couple times that nobody sees. So it's an identification of self love. It's same folks, same kids who may not be able to go do certain It's parents who can't give their kids certain stuff, but they know somebody with a hookup for an Xbox. They know somebody with a hookup for a video game. I might see the tag say $59.99, but you might have got it off a truck for $11. I don't know how you got that stuff. I just see the price tag.
It's a psychological thing too.
Right.
People will be expensive. Buy expensive things such as momentary eclipses.
Right.
Things black people have been spoke forever. Progress comes with decorating your body. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's true.
Because when you started talking about things that are kind of vain but make you feel better, it made me think about women and like plastic surgery too.
Yeah, and that's the.
I mean, that's a reach somewhat, but
No,
you get what I'm trying to
really,
say. Like you trying to be appealing so you can feel better,
well,
so that others can compliment.
Not really. It's actually a great example because when you look at it, if you looked at the '80s and the '90s, it was the small, slender women who looked really good, hard, that were appealing, and that was not necessarily the black woman. But as we continued to get into the '90s and we started to look at black bodies, and you start seeing black rappers talk about curves, and you start hearing Sir Mix-a-Lot, Baby Got Back, and you saw that music video that really looked at the black woman, now it became appealing. Why? Because guys are like, oh, it's not bad to like a chick who look like that. Cool. Boom. Not only did black guys do it, white guys did it, Latino folks did it, Jewish folks did it, everybody did it, so it became acceptable. So now what do? We have people who don't look like that, no matter what race, they want that. But again, it becomes teaching out. Mom and dad are insecure. 9 times out of 10, child is going to be insecure unless they have somebody secure in their lives telling them that, you know what, you don't have to be that. But if we're dealing with generational insecurities, then we have an issue.
Yeah.
But I mean, thank God my dad was not like that. Still not like that. My dad is very transparent with the fact that he'll tell you, I really don't care, and that ain't his choice of verbiage, but he don't care about certain stuff. He don't care about what everybody else is going to tell him in certain areas. That's not his thing. He said, look, I got to be happy for today because I don't know how many births I got left, and if this is my last one, I can't be worried about what somebody else said they're going to be my friend or they not going to be my friend. If this is the day I die, let me die happy, whether you approve or not. If I die with 1 friend or 100 friends, ain't neither one of them hopping in that casket with me. And he was very honest with that, and it's very true. Most people don't believe that. Ain't nobody, none of your friends, as much as they love you, they not finna hop in that casket with you.
That sounds like something you would say to us.
Yeah, because I feel like, again, generational, because
my phone is going to.
If it is, then we'll have to wrap it up and come back at a later time with the rest of Real Talk.
Maybe it will die
in about
9%, so we can continue.
I feel like that's a generational thing because like you said, hundreds of years we were told that we were not. And unfortunately, it wasn't that it just went from one race to another race. It went from one race to another gender. It's crazy. Like you can identify what beauty looks like, but most people are just now learning to stages of intelligence and what that looks like. Like you can't like when you think in your mind,
Mm-hmm. I
yeah,
did my senior exit paper on that when I was in school. Basically, how like the standard of beauty has been associated with white, um, young woman, long
no,
hair.
no. The one I feel like the one main picture of beauty is to be a wealthy white man.
No, I agree, but my paper was
Uh,
about
women.
women,
I
not
got you.
men. So the white woman. And basically, the Asians are trying to be like white women. Black women are trying to be similar to white women. Um, the paper was about the beauty industry and hair, wigs and human hair cells, and how we purchase hair from. So basically, hair. Let's go into it. Hair is coming overseas, and women are being basically for religious reasons. Women are sacrificing their hair. The husbands are selling the hair, shipping it over here, and it's being put into like weaves, wigs, extensions. Black women, white women, Hispanic women, all types of women buy this hair and put it in their hair because the long, beautiful, straight, or curly hair is associated with beauty. Not your natural hair that comes out of your head, not your kinky hair, your coily hair, your locks. You don't see that pushed, or it's starting to be pushed more now, but growing up, last 20 years, 30 years even, you wouldn't see that. And it's like the standard of beauty for a little girl growing up when my parents were little, you wouldn't see a lot of black people on TV or being called beautiful and stuff like that. Your star of the show would be like this beautiful white woman. And then the colorism that came from slavery, when they separate the black people by shades, it still continued even in this day and age, because you end up having this whole light skin versus dark skin thing. And the light skinned woman was considered beautiful because she was closer to being fair, like a white woman. And the dark skinned
Well,
woman is
it
perceived as the loud, ghetto, ratchet.
it wasn't that
You get what I'm saying?
it wasn't so much just because she was seen closer to white. It's because white women had rights. It was different. White, you want to be closer to light skin because you had better rights. You were going to be allowed to be in more places. You're going to be treated better in some aspects.
Exactly.
Right,
White or
but
racially ambiguous.
right,
For example,
but
Jessica Alba. Jessica Alba is like racially ambiguous if you ask me. I say that because she played in some roles where she kind of could pass for white, but then in that movie Honey, they made her look darker so she could pass for black.
oh, I thought she was a white chick. I'm
Jessica Alba
sorry.
is not white.
Yeah, I'm
She's
sorry. I
mixed.
just learned something
But
new
she
because I
looked
thought she was a
white.
white chick.
She looked white in these other roles that she played, but in Honey she did not. She looked like a light skinned woman.
Oh, I'm sorry, honey. I thought she was a white chick.
I didn't think she was white. She
I
racially
didn't
ambiguous. That's the point. She can
think.
pass for white. That's the point.
But I mean, yeah, I feel like with dudes though,
Sorry, y'all. I'm trying to get this charger to charge, but it's
dudes
not
run into the
working.
same thing though, as far as the way you treat haircuts and stuff. Like my
Oh.
mom, when I was younger, would not let me let my hair grow out for anything. And the difference too is that she was like, I just don't want police to profile you because you got long hair.
J Lo is another good example. Yep, for the Latina community.
And that was one thing that my mom always, and I feel like that's something that it's crazy because
Exactly. She said everybody wants
I
to be
read it,
black. Mm-hmm.
But I feel like that's something dudes kind of go through too. I didn't get to have long hair until I was not living with my mom every day. And even then, she was just like, "But why do you want it? Don't you understand that police profile folks who look like you? That when you get your hair and your earrings and all that stuff, and you wear your Timberlands, they profile you." I said, "Yeah, but they profile me in a suit too."
Y'all do.
I feel like that's one thing, and I feel like that's something
And
that
then
black folks did a lot.
blackness is desired too.
It did, but I feel like that's something that black folks still promoted. Like you can't be, or you can't look educated because of the way you dress. You can't look presentable or have manners because of the way you dress. I feel like that's something that's constantly pushed, like because of the stereotype that we've learned, and not even just put on from white folks. Because I done met white folks who've been down with my locks more than black folks. I feel like that's a black subconscious thing that we associate with. I don't
Mm-hmm.
even think that's a white thing. I think that's literally a black because we look like what history has showed we used to look like. We think that we're not cultured,
Mm-hmm.
and we still do it, and it's terrible. It's amazing that another black person will have a black person for having locks or having an afro or having whatever and want to judge them. That's our culture. That's our history. That's where we came from.
Yep.
Before they started giving us haircuts, your hair used to grow long until it used to fall out.
That's true. My dad told me that his dad made him cut his hair. My dad has really pretty curly hair because it made him look gay.
Yeah, they. That's why I remember. I remember one time. Oh well, you know the thing about the earrings thing with me and my mom because she's talked about it. But even like when I first like used to, I remember being in college and because my hair is not easy to wash.
Yeah. But y'all, I think my phone is gonna cut off, and I really don't want to end the live because we are at a really
Yeah.
good talking point.
It,
But I don't want it to like cut off while we're still in the middle of talking, and I won't even be able to like reboot my phone because I'm like I messed up. I didn't charge my phone before we did the live for very long, so I let it charge. That's why I didn't start at 9:30 like I said I would because I was like, oh man, my phone only got 20%, so I charged it up to 45%, and I'm just like, dang. But I think I will be back to do this again next Wednesday. Um, I really, really enjoyed this conversation tonight. It went in a great direction. We didn't have any trolls this week, which is awesome. I wanted to let y'all know Desmond is selling bracelets. He has
yeah.
wristbands.
I don't have the pink one, even though it's breast cancer. I had it on yesterday, but
I don't even know if y'all can see it.
I have the wristbands that say "Bet on yourself," and I originally started doing it because I am on a entrepreneurship journey that is not the typical journey. It's not the same thing that everybody else feels like you should do it, but I'm not discouraged along with doing it because I'm learning a lot about myself and the way I treat culture and religion and everything else along the way. So I am actually selling these Bet on Yourself wristbands. They come in 9 different colors. Unfortunately, I don't have black. I wish I did, but they did not have that as an option. Um, but they are one for $3, two for $5. I have them in blue, red, pink, dark green, Kelly green, um, white, gray, and I'm missing the color. Oh, gold and maroon. So those are the color schemes that I have. Um, if you would like to either look at any of my business things, whether you want to purchase or not, if you want to look at my Instagram page, and that is where most of my work currently is, it is MMC Art, ART, Design, DESIGN, and that is on Instagram as well as on Twitter. Instagram has a lot more of my work right now, so that's probably the easiest place to look at it. And if you see something that I will drop a link, and in the comment section, I will drop a link to my Instagram page. But if you see
Yeah, he
something,
can link it to your Instagram. Do it. Go ahead and do it from your computer while the live is still up.
if you see something that you like, or if you see something that you want created, because I do create custom artwork, just drop me a DM and we'll go from there. And if you feel like you know somebody who may need some work and you want to point them in my direction, I would definitely appreciate it. I'm not opposed to having business. There is the link for my Instagram page, so if you would like to go in there and look at it, you are more than welcome to. I also, other than posting my work, I try to post inspirational stuff about entrepreneurship and just making it day to day, because I know that can be a struggle. I've been there, and Yosha was there to watch pretty much all of it, and it's definitely was not an easy journey, and the journey's not done yet. I'm just out of the darker part of it. So if you would like to look at it to purchase, or if you could just spread the word for me, I'd appreciate that much.
Yeah, we're in Georgia, but he can ship to you if you're not in Georgia.
Yeah,
Or even if you are in Georgia, but like, we live kind of far, just ship it to you.
yeah. So I appreciate y'all. We definitely appreciate y'all
This was
coming
a
in
great
and
live,
yeah,
y'all. We had some
joining the
trolls a
conversation.
couple weeks ago, so that's not why I didn't come back. I didn't come back because I was busy. I think it was last week we skipped.
Nah, we didn't skip last
The
week. We
week
skipped the
before, we
week
skipped one
before.
of these weeks, but yeah, I'm really
Okay.
trying to be consistent because I really do enjoy having these talks with y'all. So thank y'all for y'all time tonight. I will try to charge my phone early in advance next week so I can have from 100% all the way down to
The last
9%.
10.
And yes, we had to burn that sage through the computer tonight because
Yeah.
we was not dealing with that. But I just want to thank y'all so much for joining us, and please subscribe to my channel if you're not already subscribed. Thumbs up this live video. Let YouTube know that y'all are feeling this 100%, and I'll see y'all in our next one. Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Oh
Thank
wait,
y'all
wait,
so
wait, wait!
much.
I forgot something. If you have a topic that you want me to do next week, you can comment it on this live or go to my community tab and write down what you want to talk about next week.
And that'll give us something
Because we like,
for
yeah, it'll give us
that'll give us
something,
something to talk
and
about
we
to
can kind of
prepare
get
for
it
the topic.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So,
we appreciate y'all. Y'all have a wonderful night. Stay safe. And
bye.
hopefully y'all have a great rest of the week. Bye
Ooh, Charlie horse.
y'all.
Bye. Oh my God.